Welcome back to another episode of the College Baseball Show, brought to you by Just Baseball Media here. I am joined by three of my co-hosts this week. I am very excited to talk about these preview weekends here coming up. Excited again to have my guy Jared Perkins back. How we doing, Jared?
Good. Excited to talk about some midweek madness and preview the weekend.
Oh man, we got so much to talk about. Tyler Jennings is back also after his race this weekend. How we survived. That's exciting.
That's all that matters. Finished it. The hills suck in Chapel Hill. I'm just gonna put that out there. I'm never doing that race again. But that was a blast to do and beat the goal. However, I'm gonna be hurting for a while.
Apparently, the Hills and the Yellow Jackets have a hard time in the Chapel Hill. And Zachary Symm joined us again. Zach, we got roasted a little bit by the UNC baseball, but I'll take it. I mean, if they got us, we talked about it. Kudos to them when going out and winning that weekend series.
For sure.
I'm glad I could put timestamps together so they could just find it easily. So you're all are welcome.
They were able to jump right on the YouTube and be like, yep. There it is. There's what we're looking for. Well, welcome back, folks. We're so excited to talk about some of these games coming up here. Let's talk about some of the games that happened on Monday night. UCSB takes down Cal Baptist. Jared, this is a big West Coast matchup here. Cal Baptist had a struggle weekend. They've been one of those hot teams that's been right on the fringe for some people in their top 25. Not necessarily our voters. We haven't had them that close, but they've been on that outside fringe 30. UCSB is making a run. They've had some really good games lately, winners of 8 of their last 10. One of those losses just barely losing to USC. This is a good UCSB team. It's not just Jackson Flora.
Yeah, I really like this UCSB team. We've talked about kind of the depth of the pitching staff, and they've looked great. Questions have always kind of been around the offense, but this is a team that's 25th in RPI. They're 4-3 in quad 1, 6-4 in quad 2 games. So I really like this UCSB team. I think they have a chance to crack the top 25 if they keep continuing to go on a run. They had a great non-conference record. And then they had a good series against Southern Miss, even though they lost that series early on in the year. And then when they had that series, we were talking about ranking them at that point. So they're 12-6 in the Big West. I think they're the favorites probably still to win the Big West. But I really, really like UC Santa Barbara, and I think they can continue to kind of make this run.
Yeah, 26-12 overall also. I mean, I think that the Big West is probably only going to be a one-bid league. Some of these teams are getting hot late, but they took care of business last weekend against UC Irvine. They took 2 out of 3 out against UC San Diego. They're beating the teams that they have to beat to win the Big West, and they're doing it in a good way. And they've played a really tough schedule, so kudos to them for going out and playing some of these teams. And then they're going to take care of business here as they played some of these other they played a lot of conference games coming up here, and I think that they have a good chance of winning several of these conference games coming up and taking the Big West by storm here. Utah Tech on Monday also beat BYU. We love Utah Tech. Got to get Coach on sooner or later. Those hats are rad. Their uniforms are awesome, and that has been a very competitive team. This BYU team is not the team of old. This is a very good BYU team. They're competitive in the Big 12 this year. So big for Utah Tech to go down there and beat them at Miller Park. Tuesday night, let's talk about this, Tyler. Georgia goes down to Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech finds its swagger again, scoring 14 at home. Huge game for the Tech to get back on the offensive side of things.
Yeah, in like we were talking about it before the show, UNC pitching basically had their number all weekend, and I made the joke as we're just throwing in zone fastballs to kind of beat these guys, and a lot of it was Georgia Tech was getting pretty good contact against a few guys. UNC pulled off some very good stops to kind of mitigate the damage. They took out the Caro early, went to Glauber pretty quickly on Friday. But, you look at the exit velocities and everything that Georgia Tech and Georgia were putting together. I think it was 21 batted balls above 100 miles an hour at truest. It's pretty impressive for that kind of caliber of power to kind of show up. And, you got to give credit to Georgia Tech for bouncing back the way they did. They obviously salvaged the Sunday game against UNC, come out and they run rule, arguably one of the best teams in the country with Georgia. So, it's a statement win for them, in my opinion. It kind of sucks that, again, we weren't able to kind of watch it live, but
yeah.
At the end of the day, I believe it was a charity game. So happy that there's somebody benefiting out of this, and it's not just Georgia Tech on their resume. This is a fantastic thing for college sports, and I kind of really hope there's more of it moving forward.
I hope there's more of it, and I hope that they get some people involved to call some of these games, man. Like, figure out a way to broadcast it, call up some of us that cover this game. There's tons of people that would have loved to cover that game and get it out to the public. I mean, these are the kind of games that you want to have out there. This is a top 5 matchup between two teams that are probably thinking that they're both Omaha-bound. I know we think both teams are Omaha-bound. We would have loved to watch that game live. Again, we got to see the box score. It's good for a good thing, good charity there, but still, got to get those games out to the public if you want to keep growing this game. A game that was very public and super awesome. Nebraska at Kansas. Kansas holds on to win this one and take the series 9-7. Zach, this is two possible teams. I mean, you're getting closer and closer every day to a host in Lawrence. I mean, Kansas is for real. Record high crowd there for a midweek game, 2,674 people. Awesome to see at the Hoglund.
Yeah, the Hoagland's been rocking all season long too. They've really made that into just a fortress, and they're absolutely played themselves into the hosting conversation. They continue stacking some wins. They got a big one this weekend. So if they do that, they're squarely in the mix.
Yeah, and it's a big one there, and they got a big series coming up against Kansas State at Kansas State. We'll talk about that one. Could be a lot of offense this weekend. Getting some vintage Dominic Vagley coming back, though. He's been pitching great on the weekends, like we mentioned on the Saturday show, 15 strikeouts. If he can produce those kind of things again, man, watch out. This Kansas team is for real and looking to host in Lawrence. Pitt in West Virginia. Don't tell me the backyard brawl doesn't mean anything. 23 runs for Pitt as they just pummel West Virginia pitching. Unbelievable there. Huge win for Pitt to go on the road there. I think that Pitt is probably not a tournament team, but, they're going to keep playing hard. Bell's got that team playing hard. They had some success early. This could be one of those teams that gets hot late. They definitely have the offense. It's just whether or not that pitching can get going, but they definitely shut down West Virginia.
I was going to mention West Virginia 15 walks. So they scored 23 runs on 13 hits.
13 hits, 15 walks. Not enough.
They only went 7 innings, so they had 15 walks in 7 innings.
That's crazy. Almost over 2 walks an inning. Yeah. But again, big win for Pitt. Don't tell me that the backyard brawl doesn't mean anything in college baseball. Maine beats Boston College 6-4. Tyler, I keep giving all these raves about Boston College, and they go drop a game like this that really kind of hurts their resume a little bit when you're talking about RPI and everything else. Dropping a game at home like this, it's not the best for what they have going. Now, I still think that they should be in that host consideration, especially if they get 5 wins in the next 9 games here in ACC play.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's definitely, I believe they were knocked down 3 or 4 spots in the RPI, which they're already in the mid-20s. So it's kind of like a fringy, if you want to look at past precedent, it's kind of fringy host area for me personally. And they've been really good at home this year too. So that's a tough one to lose. I think it was like a tie game in the 9th, home run from Maine to kind of break that away off Cesar Gonzalez, who's been really, really good. I also believe Kaylee Grieve, she did a fantastic piece on him at the beginning of the year as well. So if you're BC, like you said, you win 5 in the next 9 ACC play, you go into Charlotte, looking pretty good in my opinion. Yeah. But I do think there's some stuff to still kind of work on and creep your way closer to the hosting. Improve the RPI down the stretch, kind of looking at who they have coming up to kind of help them out on that. They go to Clemson. They got Notre Dame at Notre Dame this week, which is just outside of a Q1 game, if I remember correctly. But at Clemson is a Q1 series. If they can win that one, I think they're in pretty solid shape. And they also get Georgia Tech at home, which will also be a Q1 series. So they've got a couple of big tests on the way here, but if they, like you said, win 5 out of 9, I think they're in good shape. Yeah,
I said 4 on the Monday night show, but this loss I kind of think puts them back just because of RPI reasons. If they had won this game, no worries, they don't drop in the RPI. 4 probably would have done it and gotten them to the 18 wins in ACC play. But now I think they almost have to get to 19 just because of the competition that they're playing. Now, those Notre Dame wins are going to be really important. They need to go get at least 2 or 3. They need to win that series. If they win 3, feel really good about Boston College hosting at that point, but they got to go take care of business this weekend. We'll talk more about that series. Jared, Jacksonville goes into Florida and beats them 7-5. I just feel like Florida thinks that they're just inter scrimmage games on weekday. I think they just don't care.
I can't figure out Florida still, and I know it's a midweek, but like Hunter had tweeted this out, so I can't even take credit for this, but he talked about like the positive things that Florida have done. They won 13 in a row, took 2 from Miami during that, swept Florida State in the midweek series, swept South Carolina, swept Arkansas and Fayetteville, won the series against Georgia and Athens. Then on the flip side, they lost the series at High Point. They were no hit and swept by Alabama. They've got a midweek loss to Jacksonville. They've lost the series to Ole Miss, lost a midweek to Bethune-Cookman, lost a series to Auburn, and have now another midweek loss to Jacksonville. So there are times they look like a top 10 team, and there are times where I'm like, why are they in the top 25? If you look at their RPI, I think they're still 10th or in the top 10 in RPI. I just can't figure out what to make of this Florida team. You have a 1-2 punch like we've kind of talked about all year long, and Aiden King and Liam Peterson right at the mound. The offense, it feels like it doesn't. You don't know what you're going to get from it each week. I'm kind of confused. I think they're a top 25 team. Do I know they're a top 25 team for sure? I don't know.
I am so confused by the team. They could literally be 10 or 35 in my pick. That's how far the difference could be between this team. Sometimes I'm like, oh, they have no offense. They're 35th. And then some weekends they're like, oh my goodness, this team can hit a little bit. If they score 7 runs, they're going to win every game that's out there. And then they go out and they drop games at home like this to Jackson. I don't get it. It's really tough for me to kind of figure out. Same with this next game, UAB going down to Alabama and taking that one 11-2. Zach, Alabama has really struggled against some of these higher end, mid-major teams, and UAB took it to them at home.
Yeah, obviously Bama has their hitting issues in conference, but it feels like those hitting issues are just any team that has some legit breaking ball stuff and like plus sliders. Like they do not hit anything other than the fastball at all at this point.
Yeah, it seems like if anybody attacks them with breaking balls, they really struggle. The whole lineup. You saw it against teams that can really throw breaking pitches in the zone. It gets them. I mean, that's what they're looking for. They don't want to hit breaking balls. They got to figure that out for the rest of the SEC series because they got some more big games coming up here for Alabama. Missouri State at Arkansas. For a minute there, it looked like Missouri State was going to take this one and win the series here against Arkansas. Arkansas puts up a ton of runs late. That game was out of reach there, but it was a 4-4 game in the 8th there. Arkansas scored late there to take that one. I don't feel necessarily better about the Arkansas offense because a lot of those runs were kind of given them late in that game from Missouri State. But Missouri State is also a good baseball team. So
that's back-to-back games that they've scored double digit runs. Now,
double-digit runs.
They did lose 26-14 in the first one.
Yeah, I don't think Missouri State was going to put up 26 in the midweek, but you never know. They do score a lot of runs. But a big win there for Arkansas at home. They kind of need that one. It was kind of the last shot for Missouri State to have a quad 1 win. So now they've got to really build the resume by taking care of business in the rest of their conference games coming up. They got a big series against Jacksonville State coming up soon. So that's going to be a huge one to determine which one of those teams probably wins the conference. Tulane at Southern Miss. Tyler, Southern Miss holds on. Tulane's a good baseball team. They're a little bit down this year as far as their record goes. They're still competitive. Southern Miss is finding more ways to win. I got to say, they seem like they're trending back up. It seems like that whole hot, cold, hot thing that the committee loves kind of feels like Southern Miss is fitting that vibe.
It does. And I think the big shout out obviously should go to Cross Sylvie. He threw, I believe it was like 5 1/3 or 5 2/3 shutout innings. That really just kept them in the game. And obviously Kobe Allen gave up the home run in the 9th, but they walked them off regardless. But when you look at Southern Miss, like you had mentioned before, hot, cold, like they hadn't, this past weekend was the first time they actually had a series sweep in conference play. It's
against Texas State too.
It was a loud one. Yeah.
That was a very, very loud series win for them. Even in like you look at this Tulane, yes, they're a 135 RPI. They're not the heavyweights, but it's definitely one where you look at it's kind of a little bit of a trap game where you win the big series like that. You have to deal with a team that they're feisty. Tulane has shown in the past that they had the pieces to kind of really contend. They've obviously made the tournament with lackluster records. And that's just been the MO with Ullman down there. So to win that, I think Southern Miss takes that and runs with it. I think it's a good confidence boost coming off a gigantic series win like that. And, South Alabama's, they've been pretty frisky as well. So they got a pretty tough test on the road this week. I don't think it's the Q1 series, admittedly, but I would definitely say they do need this upcoming series to kind of help them with their national seed contention.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they want to be a top 16, if they want to host, they got to take care of business this weekend. I think they're running out of opportunities for those kind of host type games to keep themselves in that conversation. The RPI is still good, but it's been dwindling as Sunbelt play has continued, and they've really got to take care of business here. Again, they don't play Coastal. Same for Coastal. They don't play Southern Miss, so they don't build off of each other's RPI at all, except for maybe a tournament game. So that's kind of wild to think about in the Sunbelt there. Kentucky 10, Louisville 14. Jared, where's this Louisville offense all the time? Can't we just have some of this like during the weekends, like this team that we thought was like a top 15 team, and just Tig Davis is leading the country in home runs, and we're just not getting anything else.
Louisville, they have 61 total home runs. 24 of those are from Tig. So he's absolutely mashing the baseball. I mean, Zion Rose has been great for them too. He's got over 12,
he missed a lot of the season.
214, OPS. Bayram Holt has been great for them too, over 1,000 OPS. But like outside of Tig Davis and Bayram Holt and Zion Rose, you're not getting much power from any of these guys. Lucas Moore's kind of not hitting up to the expectations that you had for him as well. It's only hitting 270 on the season. And I think, the issue's kind of always been the pitching staff, right? They've got a team ERA of 6.54. Like, that's not going to win you ball games. And I think that's kind of where the biggest concerns have lied all season long for this Louisville team. They love playing at home. They're 18-8. 18 of the 23 wins have come out at home. I don't even know if they're a bubble team at this point. It's just been a tough season for the Cardinals.
They will have to go on a 9-game winning streak in conference.
Yeah.
That's still really, 8 or 9, and then do something in the tournament. Like, they're still going to be right on that. They're not a bubble team right now. They're really going to do something near the end.
I feel like the bigger story is Kentucky, right? Just trying to
Kentucky
figure out.
seems to be just clawing their way into the losing category. They're going the wrong direction fast, and they got to figure out some wins here. Now, they do have some favorable SEC series coming up.
Yeah, South Carolina, Tennessee. Like, if you're going to turn it around, you're going to try to get to those. What is it? You said like 13 wins in SEC conference probably usually gets you in. Like, that's a weekend to potentially get there. If you can get 5 out of 6, like the next 2 weekends, you got yourself in. Because they end with Florida, Arkansas, which both teams you don't know what you're going to get from. So maybe they take both those series, or maybe they get swept in those series. We just don't know.
Yeah, and at home last weekend against Vanderbilt, you're going, hey, this is one they have to win, and they didn't win that one. And now they're putting themselves in this really tough spot where they've got to go out and get some games here the next couple of weeks before they get to that Florida and Arkansas series. Those are tough. Cincinnati at Wright State, maybe a look forward. They're at home against West Virginia this weekend. Maybe they were just kind of looking forward a little bit. They lose that one 7-12. Not a great loss for Cincinnati, but their RPI and everything else is pretty good right now, so that doesn't kill them. But they've got to win more conference games because they're still sub 500 in Big 12 play, which means they have to go win this weekend series against West Virginia. Dallas Baptist 5, TCU 6. Zach, big win for TCU. They feel like they're coming back, and we get the good news that they got their best pitcher coming back as well.
Yeah, TCU had to walk it off. It went, they left it late, but it seems like they got Liddington going again. And then if they get Tommy Lepore and he's back to what he was, I'm sure he'll be limited at first, obviously, as he ramps up. But getting him back in general, that'll be really good for them. And they gotta make a run. I mean, they're themselves leaving it late in the Big 12 right now. It's not been pretty to this point. So
no, and they get him back this weekend, so he's going to throw a little bit. They said. So I think that the plan is to ramp him up eventually. I don't think he gets back to the Friday night starter guy, but if you can get him up to the Saturday or even Sunday contributor by the time you're talking about a regional, that's a big thing, especially since they're going to be probably a 2 or 3 seed somewhere. If you can get a guy like a Tommy Lepore get going and fresh arm because he hasn't thrown really for 9 weeks, that'd be huge for this TCU team, especially if they can get hot offensively. UCLA continues to win, taking down Hawaii 12-7. Good game there. UNC also continues to win, beating High Point 9-2. Florida State at North Florida 4-1. Tyler, I want to talk to you about this Coastal game. I could not figure out this Coastal team. Like, yes, UNCW has a lot of pitching, and it shows, especially in the midweeks when they show up. They have like 4 quality starters that can go out there and really throw arms at you. Coastal's offense just seems to be lost at times, and this was another one of those nights where UNCW just dominated this Coastal offense.
Yeah, I was about to say, the score definitely doesn't tell you the whole story of this game, I feel like. Like, you look at it, Coastal only had 1 hit, and it was, if I remember correctly, I believe it was a home run for Jordan Taylor, who has been shuffled around the lineup a little bit. He started the year in like the 9 hole. Now he's kind of like middle of the order, but everybody else just really, didn't contribute much at all. Unfortunately, they did pitch well. I'll give them credit. Jackson Smollett did pitch 6 in the 3rd, shutout. It was just Darren Horn kind of fell apart a little bit late, got teed up quite a bit. But like you said, you got to tip your cap to UNCW. They've been able to do well, and they've struggled a little bit recently. I believe they've lost like 13 of the last 19. I I know whenever I saw them against Campbell a couple weeks ago, they lost that series ultimately, but they did show good fight despite it. And kind of looking at Trevor Lucas has been one of the better hitters in conference the past few weeks. He's gone from like a 270 hitter to now he's around 330. Mason Hughes has been one of the better ones as well. That the top three of that lineup is actually really, really good. And that's what contributed to their win was Piniella had 3 hits. Trevor Lucas had 2. Mason Hughes and I believe Howie Rickett, who's the number 4 guy, came up with a hit as well. So they found, pieces at the very top of their lineup to work. And the pitching has just been as good as advertised as well. So you got to give credit to them, but Coastal really has to step it up this weekend. Texas State comes to town. Cam Fluke does come back. I believe he's pitching Sunday. Will only go for a couple innings from what I've been told. So we'll see what Coastal can do to respond after this kind of loss.
Yeah, I've heard it's probably going to be less than 50 pitches. So like you said, under a couple innings. I don't think he gets to 3 innings. And I think that that's just the way you want to ramp him back up if you're Coastal, because you don't need him right now necessarily. Like you don't need him to be Cam Fluke right now. What you need is him to be ready for a regional, because odds are they're going to be on that fringe of hosting. And if they're a 2 seed, you want him to be ready. If they're a host, they want him to be ready to go on that Friday night for them. So I think that's the plan going forward, is getting him all ramped up and ready to go and just not really rushing him back, which is smart. Indiana State goes down and beats Purdue. Tough loss for Purdue, a team that we've been pumping up lately, thinking that they're going to be tough. Again, maybe they're looking forward to that series against USC where they got to fly out and play USC at Dedeaux Field, which is going to be a tough one there. That could determine which one of those teams gets into the tournament between Purdue and USC. UCF beats Bethune. They get back on the winning streak there. UCF needed this one. Bethune's a very good team, especially at home. They win that one 5-4. Duke 10, Liberty 13. Huge win there for Liberty. Big time taking business there. We talked about this, Jared. This Liberty team continues to pile up wins against some really good opponents. We might see 3 teams in that conference with Jack State, Liberty, and Missouri State. Like there's a conversation for all 3 of them to possibly get in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be I feel like it's going to be tough, right? Because we kind of talked about how some 40-plus win teams didn't even get into the last year out of the Southland. But I feel like you look at Jacksonville State, Missouri State, Liberty, Dallas Baptist is even near the top of the conference as well. I think they're fringe and probably not getting in right now. But Liberty, I think, they went and got that series against Jacksonville State. So like they took down the team in the top of the conference. So they might not be first in the conference right now based on overall record, but they went out and got the series win that they needed to get. And so they almost beat Virginia tonight too. They lost 5-4 in that one as well. So I think this Liberty team is pretty impressive, and I think we need to be giving them a little bit more credit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
When you see 3 teams at the Conference USA all within top 30 RPI, you start thinking, do we really need a 13-17 Kentucky in the tournament, or does Conference USA really deserve these? Because I think Jacksonville State, if they continue the streak on, they only have 8 losses on the season. Like they deserve to be in regardless.
Yeah.
And then Missouri State has certainly made their case. And then I think Liberty has maybe a stronger case just based on the teams they actually have beat. So
Liberty might be the more dangerous team with the pitching that they have and the lineup they've been able to put together. Like that's the kind of scary thing, is that they have the pitching that probably is better than both Jacksonville State and Missouri State, honestly. Now the hitting for Missouri State's ridiculous, and what Jacksonville State's been able to do is crazy. They have a tougher season series coming up for them. But boy, I think that there's 3 teams that can make it. You may not see a 500 team in the ACC or Big 12. They might not let those teams in. And we're talking about 4 or 5 teams in the Big 10. They may cut that down too to get some of these mid-major teams in there, because there's some ones that are knocking on the door. I know last year we didn't let those teams in. A 13-win Kentucky or a 13-win LSU, they may not get in this thing. Like at a 70 RPI, you may be saying, hey, they're not in this thing. So it's going to be really interesting here the next couple of weeks as we go through. Let's talk about some scores that happened tonight. You already talked about how the 5-4 game there, Virginia takes that one over Liberty. Oregon State is currently up 1-0 on Oregon. South Alabama, we talked about, is up 5-0 on Lamar. They're taking it to Lamar currently, who has a lot of pitching, and I'm kind of surprised by that one. Miami and FAU are tied at 4 apiece. Miami has runners on first and third, currently no outs in the top of the 9th, looking to take the lead there. So some interesting games coming here, and we'll get some scores as we get through the rest of the night. We got another half hour here with you guys. Looking forward to that. Let's talk about something that you can plan for. Visual Edge. Listen, Visual Edge is just going to help more and more baseball players be the best version of themselves. Confidence comes from clarity. Confidence at the plate doesn't just come from taking more swings. It comes from clarity. Seeing the ball out of the hand, picking up spin early, trusting your swing decision because you know what you are seeing. Tyler's got the glasses on. He's showing you everything you see. He's spinning that baseball. He's been getting better at it every time. You start with an edge test. You measures your visual processing, tracking, depth perception. It shows you where you stand compared to other college athletes. It also builds a personalized plan around what you need the most. 15 minutes a day is all you need. That's manageable even during season for anybody. MLB stars like Aaron Judge, Nico Horner, Tommy Edman, and Key Brian Hayes are all using this because they know fractions of a second and picking up spin really matter. Listeners of this show can use CB Show to get free first month free 3D glasses, free shipping, and cancel anytime. Go to visualedge.com/sign up and use code CB Show. That's visual with a Z. 15 minutes a day can change how you see the game. Train your eyes, train your brain, earn your edge.
How's your hand-eye coordination now here, Tyler?
First off, can I see?
Can I live?
Okay, we're good. Hand-eye coordination is a lot better. However, still kind of below average.
That's not the glasses' fault either. That's all Tyler's fault.
It's all me. I'm definitely not the athlete.
He said it's gotten better. So like that's the key. Getting better. Fractions better matter. So Visual Edge, that's visual with a Z. CB Show, get those free uses. All right, guys, let's talk about some of these games. Tyler, Thursday, UNC at Duke. This is kind of like a last straw for Duke. They really got to get going here. I mean, this is not easy for them to play at home against UNC, but that last weekend sweep against Boston College really hurt this team.
Yeah, and even with, we kind of go back on that BC series, 13 stolen bases in one game. I believe it was 11-3. They need Cider Cannon back badly if they want to contend for the rest of the season, which I think he's coming back within the next couple of weeks anyways. But it might just be too little too late for Duke. UNC, this is as much as the offense can be suspect at times. Owen Hull is hitting over 450 in conference play right now. The whole 1 through 9 is producing. Cooper Nicholson is the first of that team to hit double-digit home runs this year. They're just clicking on all cylinders, and everything is just working well for them. If Duke comes out with at least one win in this, I think you take that as a win, admittedly. But they are feisty. They've shown they can be feisty, so I'm interested to see how they kind of respond to that series sweep and that loss to Liberty, and kind of snap what is like a 5-game losing streak at this point, I believe. So we'll see what happens. Playing at home, playing at Coombs. Coombs is definitely a bit of a trampoline a little bit, so I'm interested to see how that works.
Yeah, I think is this the weird week where they play 4 games in a row against UNC also? They play the weekend series and they have a midweek against them because it's finals week in the ACC. I think it's this weird week coming up. So they got 4 games against UNC, which is not easy. One of them is non-conference during the midweek, but an interesting schedule.
Which feels so weird. It really does.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not the first ACC on ACC non-conference midweek this year. So,
hey, if you're building up RPI, why not play the best of the best? And you're playing them in the ACC. It's kind of smart if you're Duke trying to build up that RPI. Alabama at Tennessee. Listen, this one is just a big deal here. Zach, we're looking at this one. Alabama needs it. Tennessee needs it. This is going to be a scratch claw fight because both of these teams really need to figure out a way to win a series.
Yeah. Bama's hit the skids a little bit after, catching fire there for a little bit. And maybe it is the hot, cold, hot, but they need to show something on offense. I mean, everyone knows they can pitch, but can they go and actually hit the ball against Tennessee? And then Tennessee, I mean, this is maybe the last weekend that they have a chance to really get back into it. They are down there. It's not looking pretty in Knoxville.
No, they're 8-10. Alabama's 9-9. So that's the thing. The loser of this one is in a bad way as far as SEC contention. And neither one of them are really locks for the tournament. I think Alabama is more so just because their RPI is higher. They've shown enough where they're going to be locked for the tournament, but neither one of these teams is locked for a host seed. Alabama needs this thing. If they can show that they can go on the road and win at Lindsey Nelson, all of a sudden you're talking about them staying in that top 16 and being a host contention. Whereas if they go lose this thing, then you're talking about them being a 2 seed somewhere, and that's not where they want to be. Arkansas at Missouri, Jared. This is must win. This is must sweep at this point for Arkansas. They need to go out and figure out a way to sweep this thing. But Missouri's been pretty tough at home, especially in SEC play.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas, we've kind of talked about it all year long. I don't know how much to add on here. This has been up and down season for them. They've looked good at some points, and then they looked really bad at others. They lost that series to Georgia. The 26-14 loss was absolutely brutal on them for them on Saturday. They bounced back with the Missouri State win, and so yeah, I think they have to go into Missouri and basically sweep out here, just to keep kind of continue to go. I feel like they got 9 conference wins. I feel like they're going to easily get to that 13 mark that they need to get into the playoffs. So I don't think there's concern there. It's just like trying to figure out how talented this team really is. The lineup feels so hot and cold. There's times where they look great. There's other times where the swing and miss issues really kind of play. So I think we're just going to have to wait and see. But yeah, I agree with you. Must win series for them.
Must win series, almost must sweep if they want to host. It feels like that kind of pressure on this team right now because I feel like a 2-1 doesn't really put them back in the top 16 conversation. Whereas a sweep, you kind of go, maybe they are that team, at 12 wins, and then they're only looking at needing a few more. Gosh, it gets really close to saying, hey, this team should be in that host conversation, but they got to go sweep down there. BYU at Arizona, kind of a tough series there. BYU needs to take care of business. Arizona is the bottom dweller there in the Big 12, really struggling. Interesting because every series for BYU is always played on Thursdays, but a tough one here at Arizona. Let's talk about West Virginia at Cincinnati. Like, this is a huge series, Jared, and I want to talk to you about this because we've been talking Big 12 baseball so much. Cincinnati needs this. They have a losing record right now. They did just go down and beat UCF at UCF, which is huge. Now they get to host West Virginia, and this is a big thing for West Virginia also, where if West Virginia wants to host, they have to start winning series like this.
Yeah, I mean, this is Cincinnati's a team that's in the top 25 in RPI. They've got the big midweek win against Auburn. But again, it's like the offense we know is going to be there. It's just the pitching staff. It's almost like the same issue that Louisville has been having, but they got some more bigger boppers. Like Natilli's got 13 home runs on the year to go along with Quentin Coates. So it's not like a one-man show with Tate Davis, but it's just like they got a team ERA of 5.39. And so like the pitching staff has just been up and down for them all season long. And so I think they got to get this series win against West Virginia. Like they got the advantage of being at home. I'm still struggling on my pick'em to figure out who I want to take in this series between West Virginia and Cincinnati. Last time I went against West Virginia on the road, they want to go out there to Arizona and win the ASU series. I think the ASU team's better than this Cincinnati team. So leaning towards West Virginia taking this series just because the depth of that team on both sides of the ball is just much better. But yeah, I think like, we know Bishop ball, like Cincinnati could easily kind of pull this off. They've done it to teams before in the past. Like I wouldn't be shocked if they do it again to West Virginia.
Yeah, the problem for Cincinnati, like you said, high RPI, they're 27-15 overall, but they're 8-10 in conference. It's going to be really hard for them to vote somebody in that has a sub 500 record. So even if they win 2 out of 3, they're still going to be sub 500 for going into the rest of the season here. But they need to take this series. And if they get a sweep, then all of a sudden you're talking about this team totally different. And you're talking about West Virginia being completely, basically out of winning the Big 12 regular season title. So both of these teams need this. It's a huge series between these two squads. I cannot wait to see this one. West Virginia, do they have enough pitching? What Dawson Montez are we going to see on Friday night? Like, there's so many questions in this series. I'm very excited for it. Texas A&M at Florida. Zach, this is huge SEC baseball. What can we expect? I mean, Texas A&M, maybe the hottest offense in the country right now, going up against this Florida pitching staff. Like, it's must-watch baseball.
Yeah, this is probably, in my opinion, the best series of the weekend. I mean, it's if Aiden King is on, if Peterson's on, you get to see good on good. I mean, elite pitching, elite stuff on the lineup for A&M. Big question for me is Florida hasn't really hit the ball, as we know. Like, can Texas A&M's pitching continue to kind of roll along? Like, that's been the real story. Like, they've been able to hit all along, but their pitching has really stepped up in a big way, and they've dropped their entire ERA in SEC play by a full point over the past week. So, yeah, A&M is in second place, and they've played themselves into a national host contention now. So it's right there for them. They just got to continue rolling.
That's the thing. If A&M can go to Florida and win that series, all of a sudden they're a top 8 seed, like looking really good in that top 8.
Yeah.
Now, Florida could do the same thing. They could help their resume by winning the series at home because this is a very good one. I can't wait. This is strength on strength like we saw last weekend with Georgia Tech and UNC. We're getting strength on strength there. Getting strength on strength right here with A&M versus Florida. I'm very excited for it. I can't wait for this one. All right, Tyler. Wake Forest at Georgia Tech. Do we see the bounce back from Georgia Tech? I know Wake Forest is kind of fighting for their tournament life as well.
Depends on which Wake Forest decides to show up. You know, they have been flip-flop. It feels like Miami, they score 4 total runs on the road. You know, Miami is a tough environment, but then they come out, score, I believe, 45 runs against an NC State team that has been going through it with injury luck recently, which I don't think NC State right now is a tournament team. I'm just going to go out there and say it, just rip the Band-Aid off. They've not really done enough to overcome the strength of schedule outside of the conference. But again, if you're Wake Forest, you got to keep that offense churning against a team that, you know, they're going to throw to catch you singing. You know, watching Georgia Tech this past weekend, every single one of those arms throws about 6 or 7 different pitches. And it's pretty remarkable to have that many guys who can do that. And then you have a guy like Justin Shattuck in the bullpen who can touch 100 and has a hammer at 81. So, you know, it's going to be a test for Lavonis, I think, going up against this Georgia Tech lineup on Friday. And I'm interested to see how Troy Dressler kind of responds as well after a pretty good outing against NC State. But you just need the bats to come up. If they are cold this weekend, it's going to be a pretty quick series for Wake Forest, in my opinion, because Georgia Tech can and will take advantage of mistakes like that.
Yeah, Wake Forest, 1 game over 500, almost can't afford a sweep this weekend. They got to kind of go get one. And I'm more interested, I think, in seeing Blake Morningstar out of the bullpen again. He was so good in those 3 innings out of the bullpen. If that's the kind of arm they're going to be able to get from him there, that might be a good move for them to go hit Lavonis and then to him. Like, that seems like the good move there on Friday nights. And I'm interested to see. But Wake Forest feels like they have to at least try to get one here this weekend to kind of keep themselves in that conversation, because staying at 500 is a big deal in ACC. So you have a chance to be over that for the rest of the season. Very excited to see what we're going to have here. Let's talk about Oklahoma at Auburn, Jared. This is a big matchup for Oklahoma. Like, Auburn can play their way into staying as a top 8 seed, whereas Oklahoma is kind of fading out of that top 16 really fast. Now, they beat up on teams, but they seem like they beat the teams that are below them, while the teams that are ahead of them in the ranks, they really struggle against.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 2 big factors for Oklahoma, one is like, what are you going to get from your offense? Like, is the offense going to show up? And then number 2 is, what are you going to get from Cam Johnson? Like, which Cam Johnson's going to show up in the mound? Is he going to strike out 14 or is he going to walk 5? Like, that's that's kind of been the story for Oklahoma all year long. It's like when Johnson and Mercurius are on, like, they're lights out and they're almost hard to beat because the offense doesn't have to do as much because those guys are just dominating on the mound. The offense has just kind of been a struggle all year long for Oklahoma. So you would take a struggling offense versus maybe the best pitching staff in college baseball right now. Like, Auburn, I think, has a very, very good argument for that with Jake Marciano and company. They've just been dominating on the mound this year. Everything Butch Thompson and Everett Tiefert have done with that pitching staff has just been phenomenal. And I really like the Auburn offense. They've started to turn it around. Like we've talked about, Eddie Madrigal's back. I think Auburn's going to win this series pretty handedly. And I say this now, and then I'll be clipped and put into Oklahoma's reel as they take the series here from Auburn. But I just think Auburn's going to be really tough beat, especially at home for this Oklahoma team.
Yeah. It's tough to go to Plainsman Park and win.
Yeah.
And it's even tougher with what Auburn's throwing out there arm-wise right now. And getting Eddie Madrigal back and getting Rimbert like healthy. And now you're going to get this offense going. Like, if that offense for Auburn gets going, man, they're a top 4 team, honestly. Like, that's how good this team is with all the arms that they have.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for this one. I think Oklahoma needs this, but I think that it's a really tough uphill battle for Oklahoma the rest of the SEC season. Let's talk about Georgia-Ole Miss, Zach. Like, this is a tough one here where Ole Miss has been on fire. They've played their way into saying, hey, look at us.
Feeding the trees. And then you've got Ole Miss who, you know, Townsend on Friday night. Like, that's going to be some electric stuff. So the only question I have is, can Ole Miss's pitching handle and keep the Georgia offense at bay long enough to get their own offense? Because they have some offensive struggles themselves. So it's kind of a really weird yin and yang weekend with teams that struggle at both ends, just different types. So,
yeah, I tend to like the bullpen of Georgia better. I think Cade Naoki has just been so good out of the bullpen that I think that might be the difference. Where the starting pitching for Ole Miss has been really good, and their bullpen's been good enough to keep them in baseball games. whereas I think Georgia dominates in their bullpen versus their starting pitcher. So I think that gives the edge to Georgia, but I wouldn't surprise me if Ole Miss takes 2 or 3 at home here. And both of these teams are very good. I think both should host. I think that they both deserve to host as long as they take care of business the rest of the season. But Ole Miss has a brutal 12-game stretch coming up. They have an absolutely brutal. I think they play 13 Q1 opponents the rest of the season, which is absolute insanity. So it's going to be a tough sled here for Ole Miss. But if they can take care of business this weekend, they feel a lot better. They got to start winning. They got to keep winning these home games at Swayze. Tyler, Purdue at USC. This is a massive Big Ten series. This is massive for USC to get back right. But I've taken Purdue. I'm picking Purdue. I think that Purdue goes down there, and I think that they show that they deserve to be a tournament team.
I'm pretty sure I went with you on this, Jared. You can correct me. I'm pretty sure I put Purdue in.
We all went Purdue, so USC
okay.
winning.
No.
So okay. So
I went
USC
Trojans
winning
for the record on my own. So y'all are good.
Okay. The biggest thing for Purdue, their pitching has been all right. Their offense is third best in the Big Ten. I believe they're hitting as a team like 315. They've scored the third most runs in conference. They're really good on the road too. They're 7-4 on the road. They're 8-2 neutral site. They do play again. It's the same exact thing where I said West Virginia going to Arizona State. Being on the road early in the season is an advantage for these Northern teams. I feel like because I mentioned it. West Virginia, they're battle tested. They can go on the road, take on a top 25 Arizona State. They ended up winning that series. So I like my odds here a little bit, but now knowing that USC does not have a vote is kind of daunting. But moving past that, I agree. USC, this is a great weekend for them to kind of get back into it. Purdue they're kind of in the 60s when it comes to RPI. They don't have Q1 games really all that much. I believe they have only 2 on the docket this year. If you're Purdue, this is your chance to go on the road against a team that is top 15 in RPI. If you win the series, this is massive for your at-large bid, because there's really not much there at the moment. If you can go in, win 2 of 3, this is great for them. And it really opens up the bubble, I think, in my opinion. But they don't have really much outside of that after this season, because the Indiana State loss did drop them a bit in the RPI. And after that, you got Murray State during finals week. You got Indiana, who's just on the outside of the top 90 in RPI, and Iowa's not far ahead of them either. So this is your one chance to do something. I feel like that they are going to do their best, in my opinion. If they come out of the series with a series dub, that's massive for them.
I feel that the winner of this series has the best chance of getting in, because I feel like if USC loses this, all of a sudden they're 5th in the Big Ten, and they've put themselves in a real tough conversation here down the rest of the season, because they still have to play Oregon at Oregon to end the season. That's not going to be an easy set for them either. Now they have the opportunity if they go win that one, but I think that USC feels like their backs are against the wall here, whereas they may not get in the tournament if they lose this one. Where Purdue, this is their last chance. If they lose this week, then they'd have to do something special in the Big Ten tournament, even if they swept the rest of the 6 games. So I think it's a huge one here. Yes, Miami did officially beat Florida Atlantic 5-4 there in regulation. Canes Cats Heat. Yep, there he is. Yep, the big season sweep. First time since 2016 over FAU. Big for Miami to keep that resume up and keep building what they're trying to build into. They're trying to get into that host conversation also, and being in the ACC currently. They got Cal this weekend. Let's talk about Texas at Vanderbilt, Zach. This is pretty important for Texas, where on the flip side of the coin, Vanderbilt needs to keep finding ways to win. Like, they're real close. It's real close.
Vanderbilt, this feels like they need to take. If you look at Vanderbilt and against Texas, and then Vanderbilt against Alabama, they've got to come away with a minimum of 3 wins, because then you have South Carolina and Missouri, and even then their RPI is still going to be real bad. So this is super important for Vanderbilt. I am interested to see this Texas offense against Fennell. He's an interesting case, because he is a guy that I could see giving Texas offense a lot of trouble with that unique fastball from that release height, and then his goofy slider of his, like that. Those are the things that cause Texas trouble, not the velo. Now, where I think that Vanderbilt's really going to struggle is against the Texas pitching. They're not going to give them anything. They're going to do what they did to Bama. They're going to throw everything down in the ground and make them pop it up, which they do a lot anyways. And so I think Texas wins the series, but yeah, this is an interesting matchup. Plus, I couldn't believe this, but Vanderbilt has had 6 SEC series. Their number 3 pitcher, so non-Fennell or Wyatt, it's been a different person every single time. Like that is wild.
They've thrown a new person on Sunday every single Sunday in SEC play.
Yeah.
It is insane. And they're 9-9. I mean, they're 25-17 overall. They're really, really good at home, 20-6 at home, which makes them really tough there. Texas goes in and wins this one. Then Vanderbilt's got not the best resume here building up. Even if they got to 14 wins in SEC, it feels like they could be on the bubble out because of that resume and their RPI. But they got to take care. If they take care of business this weekend, they're a tournament team. They're in. I mean, at that point, they have 11 wins and they have some easy series coming up, and they would have won a big RPI booster there against Texas. But if they get swept, it's kind of a different conversation. And I think Texas can go in there and sweep this team. I think Texas is just way better in all facets. But I'm very excited to watch this one this weekend and see what kind of pitching we get from Vanderbilt. See if we get a last stand kind of effort from this Vanderbilt team. Jared, Texas State at Coastal, this is huge for both teams, and Texas State needs it after getting swept last weekend at Mississippi State or at Southern Miss. Tough for them to go at Southern Miss and then at Coastal, the number 1 and number 2 team in the conference, but they've really got to take care of business, and it's huge. It's huge for the Cats.
I think Texas State needs this series win to have any shot of making the tourney, unless they win their Sunbelt Conference championship. Because they needed the Southern Miss series. They're 1-7 in quad 1 games. They're 7-1 in quad 2. So like, it's just not quite there, and they're 38th in RPI overall, right? So like, you don't have any other big series outside of this one against Coastal Carolina, and the question is, are they going to be able to pull it off? It feels like Coastal every weekend is losing game after game, and then they all of a sudden come back and win it against all these teams. The advantage for Texas State right now, of course, is the offense. Like they out hit Coastal in almost every hitting category. But the pitching staff, I think, like even Coastal with their pitching staff struggles, they have a much better pitching staff than Texas State. Texas State's just got, I think, number 104th ranked starting rotation in college baseball, where Coastal's is number 62, and Cam Fluke is also back this weekend. So they're going to have to face that, which is not easy. So I just think like it's going to be real tough. Like they needed at least 1 win against Southern Miss in that series, and they didn't get any. So I think they're going to really, really struggle in this Coastal series. But hey, maybe the motivation's there. Like, we got to go get this series, and the team shows up, the pitching staff pitches better, and they go out and get it. Because like, I think, I don't think they're making the tourney without at least this series win.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, is the Sunbelt going to get 3 teams, and the third team is going to be 5th or 6th in their own conference? Like,
they're like,
that's a real hard pill to swallow
conference
for
right
the
now,
committee.
9-9 in conference.
Yeah, it would
but
have,
they're 6 still, or So
yeah, that's the thing. It's like South Alabama has a better shot if they can take care of business this weekend against Southern Miss. Then you're talking more South Alabama than you would be Texas State. I said this all year. I like the Cats, but I've said that they're a year away. I think that next year is really their year where they're going to mature and be a much better team. I already picked them to win the Pac-12 championship next year. You heard it here. Texas State is Pac-12 champions next year. But if they go take care of business this weekend, that's the only way to get in the tournament, because the rest of their tournament, unless they won the Sun Belt, that's the only way that they're getting 3 teams in the Sun Belt. Anyway, I think it's a 2-bid league. I think it's Southern Miss, and I think it's Coastal. As long as one of those 2 teams wins the Sun Belt championship, then I think it's those 2 teams only. So LSU at Mississippi State. Zach, this is do or die. Like LSU at 6-12 now, like it's do or die time. I don't know how else you look at it. Like this is insanity.
Yeah. As crazy as it sounds, 10-8 Mississippi State, they're in 4th position in the SEC. Like they can have a chance. Like if Vanderbilt were to trip up Texas, like they have got a chance to get right back into the top. But yeah, for LSU, I think it really was the nail in the coffin, which is what I said last week. If they got swept by A&M, and they did, and I think this week just compounds it even further, especially with the loss of Jake Brown now. Like they just want to. I bet Jay Johnson's like, when can the season end? Can we just press the fast forward button at this point?
It's like, let me get into that recruiting and portal class. Let's just
Yeah, LSU, no Jake Brown now. We had Hamate surgery. He's out for the rest of the season. Cooper Moore out for the rest of the surgery. Like when you lose those 2 guys this week already, when you're 6-12, and you're going to go on the road to Mississippi State, who is really needing to win these games, like all of a sudden it does not feel very good, especially if you're an LSU fan. You're like, how we got to win a series at Mississippi State in Starkville when Mississippi State's good at baseball right now. Like that's not fun to do. I don't see a way that LSU does it, but they've surprised me in the past. But I just don't see a way. And I said it last week.
But even if they get past Mississippi State this weekend, they get an easy 3 against South Carolina, presumably. And then they're at Georgia and they finish with Florida. Like,
yeah,
there's no guarantees they get anything done the rest of the season.
No, I mean, they have to win. This is like a must-win weekend series for them. It's getting to that point in the season. I think that a series loss, and they're still, even if they get one, they're at 7 wins only in conference play, and you're talking about 7-14 team. That's not good enough. It's just not going to be enough to get them in the tournament. Kansas at Kansas State. I'm going to go to you on this one, Tyler, because it's such a huge Big 12 matchup here. Kansas sits ahead of West Virginia by 2. West Virginia's going to Cincinnati, which is a huge series. Kansas playing its in-state rival in Manhattan this weekend. This feels like the chance for Kansas to kind of seal this thing up and say, hey, we win the Big 12.
Yeah. And this is another Q1 series for them where, they're coming off another one, or Oklahoma State, where they won the series, and you look past that too, like Utah, UCF, those were all big series wins. They swept Cincinnati, they won 2 of 3 at Cincinnati, which was another big series for them. So they're in the catbird seat. This is their series or not their series, but their conference to win, basically. And Kansas State does have some interesting pieces. I think D. Kennedy and AJ Vasco have been stellar this year. And K-State does have some decent pitching, but Kansas is the hot hand here. Bodie Ray has somehow become one of the more intriguing relievers in the country now. Like, he's started games. He's got like 1 inning appearances, and he's had like 5 or 6 saves already. So they're just kind of throwing him out wherever and like, hey, go win the ball game, have fun. Have fun touching a changeup that just disappears off the face of the earth. But it's just, with Kansas win this series, I think they're in pretty solid shape. They do have some more. They do need to win that series against Arizona the weekend after next. Or sorry, next weekend rather, because it's West Virginia, then at BYU. So very interested to see what they can do, but I think Kansas does walk away with this one pretty handily. Yeah,
if they take care of business this weekend, you got to feel really good about them.
We all picked Kansas, so Kansas State's going to win. Yeah.
Okay, Jared, I need you to pipe down over there.
I've worked my way back to a really good pick'em record here. So now you're killing me here, Jared, after I've worked really hard to get this pick'em going the right direction. And Kansas, I'm with you, Tyler. I think that they take care of business this weekend. Virginia at Pitt, huge series here for Virginia and Pitt to maybe get back into this thing. Baylor at Arizona State is a massive series. Jared, I'll let you touch on this one. I know we're running low on time. Arizona State needs a sweep, and Baylor can stay right in this thing if they can go out and somehow win a road series at Arizona State.
Yeah, I think we've talked about kind of the ASU struggles. Like, it's Cole Garland and then what? And the pitching side of things, like Alex Overbay into the rotation hasn't really worked. He was better out of the bullpen for them. Lineup, it's like, we've talked about this before too, but like when the rest of the lineup's not going, it's like the Landon Harrison show, and you're kind of waiting for somebody to kind of show up and do something. Like when Dean Toigo's doing great, when Nuno Contreras is doing great, like then this offense is just clicking and firing on all cylinders. So I think it's a big series for ASU. Like, we still have them ranked in the top 25. I think they've showcased that they're a top 25 team. They just need some more consistency on both sides of the ball. And so if they can get that and get that series sweep against Baylor, or even just take 2 out of 3, I think they're going to remain in that top 25 rank.
Yeah, if they had flipped just a couple games, all of a sudden you're talking about them way different. If you're looking at them going, oh, they're 13-5 in conference versus 11-7 in conference, kind of feels So I think that this is a big weekend series for them, whereas Baylor sits at 9-9. They kind of need one. I don't think they're going to get it. I think Arizona State sweeps it at home, especially because it not to buy into all the rumors, but the Willie Bloomquist seat is getting kind of hot. It's getting a little hot. He's got to go win some games. So this team has got to figure out a way to go out there and win some games. Do I think they're a tournament team? Yeah. Do I think they're top 25? Absolutely. Could they possibly host? I don't think they can unless they start getting some sweeps, and it starts this weekend. So they'd have to really take care of business this weekend. Looking forward into that one, though. Lots of great games here this weekend. I'm going to dive through some of these really fast so I can ask you guys a couple questions before we get into them. Cal at Miami, huge series for Miami. Miami needs a sweep. Cal's been on fire. This is a tough Cal team, especially on the road, but Miami needs to win these at Mark Light. South Florida, ECU, maybe the game of weekend series there for that conference. Huge here for both of these squads. Southern Miss and South Alabama, we already touched on a little bit. South Alabama needs this thing if they want to try to be the third Sunbelt team, whereas Southern Miss can really cement themselves with Coastal to be the top two there. UTSA at Tulane, huge back against the wall time for Tulane, and UTSA can show that they want to be the top of that conference there. Hawaii at Oregon State. This is a big one here just for non-conference. Oregon State needs to keep winning if they want to be a national seed. They have this game against Oregon that they are currently leading 1-0. But again, Oregon State needs these kind of wins because they play top 100 teams the rest of the way, so they need to go out and beat these teams like Hawaii at home. Oklahoma State at Texas Tech. We heard some news about Texas Tech losing a bunch of players this week, so Oklahoma State needs these to kind of put themselves in that conversation to stay in the tournament hope after losing last weekend at home against Kansas. Game you're most excited for this weekend, fellas? I know we got a few minutes here left. Tyler, which one are you most excited for? I know you get to stay at home and watch games this weekend.
Yeah, as I say, family's going out to Tampa. I'm kind of just staying here and going to be working on content throughout the weekend. So, yeah, I'm staying home. However, my boy Spencer Scott over here, I need to give him some love for the Pirates. But you mentioned it. ECU and USF is a pretty big series. I was very tempted to go out there and just say, screw it, I'm going to go ignore orders. But this is, if you're ECU, you do need this series, I feel like. Like, this is bottom of the barrel. Like, Ethan Norby he's looked better. The offense is starting to kind of find his grip a little bit here the past couple of weeks. They took 2 or 3 for Wichita State. They had a blunder Sunday, but then they came back and took care of business against Old Dominion. I believe it was like a run rule in 7. So, they need that big time. South Florida is very interesting. They've moved Edwin Alicia to a bullpen, which I think is a smart move to make because he's been struggling deeper in the outings. I think he's going to do very well in that bullpen. And they've got some pretty impressive arms too. Like, obviously we have Michael Sine, who's been the one of the best freshmen in the country. However, Ethan Sutton, now you got Alicia in there. That's a pretty deadly 1-2 combo to have in that bullpen. So I do believe that if South Florida does struggle a little bit with their starters, ECU is going to do pretty well. But if there's a chance where, they happen to be behind, they have to face Sutton or Alicia, it might be a tough series for them to win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a huge series. I think you nailed it. South Florida, ECU, tune in. That's going to be some great baseball there. Zach, which one are you looking forward to? I think I know, but which one are you looking forward to?
So I might surprise you here. I really want to say A&M versus Florida, but I'm going to go with Purdue USC. I think those are 2 teams that desperately need a series win, and I think they're just going to go all out for it all weekend long, and it's going to be fun on Dedeaux Field. Like, it'll be interesting to see just the matchups there. I think is really close.
It might feel like a regional type feel. Like this is going to be this might be the biggest game that Stankiewicz has had at USC. This might be the biggest weekend series that he's ever had hosting this Purdue team where they need some wins, especially coming off that last weekend sweep against Nebraska. Jared, which one are you looking forward to this weekend?
I'm doing it. I'm going UConn Georgetown. Just gonna throw that one in there. Little Big East matchup. Georgetown is 4-5 in the Big East. I think UConn's is a little bit above that. I just think it's gonna be a fun series because I think both of these teams will vie for the top of the Big East by the end of the season. Georgetown has a nice 1-2 punch with JT Rabb and Spencer Seed, who have been just lights out for them. I'm curious if they're going to be able to kind of stop this UConn offense. So wish I could go out to that one because it's at Cab One Park right down the street from me. Won't be able to make it, but got to give those guys a shout out.
Jared, I cannot believe you didn't go with the 0-9 Seton Hall Pirates versus the 0-9 Villanova Cat. Like, come on, man.
I think both teams are right up near the 300 RPI, so that's a good matchup there. I'm not going to lie. There's a couple I'm excited for. One of my favorite people in college baseball, Mike New, the head coach at Cal. Many of you may know that he did win a national championship as a player at Miami, and he returns to Miami for the first time since then. Very, very excited for that one. I think he's pretty excited and pretty pumped up for that. Huge weekend series here for Miami as they need to win at Mark Light. I honestly think that it is the Purdue USC series, but I will tune in hard to that Georgia-Ole Miss because I feel like those are 2 teams that could be Omaha-bound, and we might see a lot more from both these teams. Is the pitching of Townsend going to be enough to be able to stop this Georgia team? I think Hunter Elliott can kind of slow down this Georgia team. I'm very, very excited to see what we see there. And I want to see Cade Naoki continue out of the bullpen because he's just been insane for this Georgia team. So I think that those are the fun ones. Cannot wait. Final thoughts here, Jared?
Not a ton for me. Just ready for some more baseball.
Man, so much more baseball this weekend. Cannot wait. We're dwindling down to the end of the season here, but we got lots more content coming. Zach, any final thoughts?
Yeah, fly out tomorrow for Nashville. I'll be there at Hawkins Field. If you don't see or hear from me, it's because I've strangled and or kidnapped the Vandy Whistler. So, send bail money. But no, I think there's a lot of sneaky good series. Like last weekend was very top heavy. I think this weekend's very there's just a lot of good games I want to watch. So
yeah, feels like a lot of teams are cutting their teeth for the final run of the season here, where we're going to see a lot of these teams, whether, hey, are they going to make the bracket, or is this a team that's going to drop off and even be right there for us? Tyler, any final thoughts as we head into this weekend?
The mention of the Vandy Whistler has now got my PTSD going on in my brain. so for context, I went to, it was Oklahoma State at Vanderbilt 22. Ooh. I was sat next to the Whistler in the next section, and I don't think I can ever go back to Hawkins Field again after that. So Zach, I got my tax return. I'm going to send you bail money if it happens. But
I legit have had fans of Texas tell me that they're not going purely because of him.
It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I really don't.
It's really annoying.
I just don't. I hate to say it. If you're gonna whistle, at least keep it quiet. Like, I'm sorry, that's the thing. It's the loudness that kills me every single time I hear him on the stream. And this was even going back to when Vanderbilt had the in this long announcer that they had. I can't remember his name, so it was a double whammy. But tangent aside, I mean, agreeing with Zach, there's a lot of really good low key matchups this weekend that I think really have a lot more meaning than what we've or even other outlets have put out there. And like I've said, going to stay home. However, College Top 100 rollout is going to be next week. Very excited to have that wrapped up and ready to go. Going to do some mock drafts as well. And then, of course, tournament time rolls around and we're going to be having some fun. So everything's wrapping up on the draft side too. We're going to get rocking and rolling on that. So I want to plug in the on the clock side for us. But yeah, excited for what we've got this weekend and what's to come.
So many good matchups, so much great content coming from all of our people here. We got writers all over the country doing stuff. Tyler is crushing the stuff with the draft, and then you can tune into any of our shows. Saturday morning, we join you live. Monday night, the top 25, and the Wednesday night show. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. We'll be back again next week.
I'll post bail. Thank you, Spencer.
Thanks.